She wiped the blood from her lip and stared at the officer through the cracked window. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from something else entirely, something he would regret. The afternoon sun beat down on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, turning the asphalt into a shimmering river of heat. Regina Cole gripped the steering wheel of her silver Honda Accord, her knuckles tight against the leather. She was driving home. Just driving home. That's all she wanted to do. The music played low through her speakers. Some old gospel song her mother used to hum while cooking. Regina hummed along, her mind somewhere between the road and the memory of her mother's kitchen. The smell of jollof rice, the sound of laughter, back when things were simpler. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. She glanced down. A text from her daughter, Zara. "Mom, when are you coming? I'm hungry." Regina smiled. Zara was always hungry, 12 years old and eating like a grown man. She typed back quickly at the red light. "Almost there, baby. 20 minutes." The light turned green. She pressed the gas pedal and merged into traffic. Lagos traffic was a beast, everyone honking, everyone rushing, everyone going nowhere fast. But Regina had learned patience. You couldn't survive in Nigeria without it. She checked her rearview mirror. A police checkpoint ahead. She could see the officers in their black uniforms, standing under a faded blue tent. One of them was waving vehicles to the side. Another was leaning against a patrol car, scrolling through his phone. Regina's jaw tightened. She hated checkpoints. Everyone did. It wasn't about safety. It was about money. Always money. They would ask for her license, check her papers, find something wrong even when nothing was wrong. Then they would ask for something small. That's what they always called it. Something small. She slowed down as she approached. The officer with the phone looked up. He was young, maybe late 20s. His uniform was wrinkled. His eyes were hard. He pointed at her. "You. Park there." Regina's heart sank. She pulled to the side of the road, behind two other cars that were already stopped. She could see the drivers arguing with the officers, hands waving, voices rising. One man was counting out bills. She turned off the engine and waited. The young officer walked over to her window. He didn't smile. He didn't greet her. He just tapped on the glass with his knuckles. Regina rolled down the window. The heat rushed in immediately. "Good afternoon, officer." He ignored the greeting. "Let me see your particulars." She reached for her bag in the passenger seat. Her license was in her wallet. Her vehicle papers were in the glove compartment. Everything was up to date. She had made sure of that. She handed him the documents. He barely looked at them. Instead, he looked at her. Up and down, like he was sizing her up, deciding what she was worth. "Step out of the car," he said. Regina froze. "Why? Is something wrong with my papers?" "I said step out." Her stomach twisted. Something was off. She could feel it in the air, in the way he stood, in the tone of his voice, but she couldn't refuse. You never refused a Nigerian police officer, not if you wanted to go home safely. She opened the door and stepped out. The heat hit her like a slap. Sweat formed instantly on her forehead. The officer walked around the car, inspecting it. He kicked the tires, peered through the windows, opened the back door without asking. "Officer, what are you looking for?" Regina asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He didn't answer. He was searching the back seat now, lifting the floor mats, checking under the seats, looking for something, anything. Another officer approached. This one was older, heavier. His belly pushed against his belt. He had a baton in his hand. He twirled it lazily as he walked. "What do we have here?" the older officer asked. "Still checking," the young one replied. Regina's heart pounded. "My papers are complete. I haven't done anything wrong." The older officer smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "That's what they all say." He leaned closer. She could smell his breath. Cigarettes and something sour. "You know this road is dangerous. Armed robbers, kidnappers, we're here protecting you. Don't you think you should show some appreciation?" There it was, the real reason. Regina had been through this before. Everyone had. You either paid or you suffered. "How much?" she asked quietly. 10,000. Her eyes widened. 10,000 naira? For what? "For your safety," he said, still smiling. "I don't have that kind of money." The smile disappeared. "Then you have a problem." The young officer slammed the back door shut. "I found something." Regina's blood went cold. "Found what?" "There's nothing in my car." He pulled out a small envelope from his pocket. It was brown, crumpled. He held it up like a trophy. "This was under your seat." "That's not mine. I've never seen that before." The older officer snatched it from the young one's hand. He opened it. Inside was a white substance, powder. Regina's world tilted. "That's not mine. You planted that. I know you did." The older officer's face hardened. "Are you calling us liars?" "I'm calling you thieves. You put that in my car." His hand moved faster than she expected. The slap came hard across her face. Her head snapped to the side. Pain exploded through her cheek. She stumbled backward, hitting the car. For a moment, everything went silent. The traffic, the voices, the world. All she could hear was the ringing in her ears and the rush of blood in her head. She touched her lip. It was bleeding. The older officer stepped closer, baton raised. "You want to insult us? You think you're better than us?" Regina looked up at him, at both of them. And something inside her shifted, something dark and hot and dangerous. She had spent her whole life being polite, being quiet, doing what she was told, accepting injustice because that's what you did to survive. But not today. Not anymore. She straightened up, ignoring the pain in her face. Her eyes locked on the older officer. And when she spoke, her voice was different, colder, steadier. "You made a mistake," she said softly. The officer laughed. "What are you going to do about it?" Regina didn't answer. She just stared at him. And in that moment, something passed between them. A recognition, a warning. He would find out soon enough what happened when you pushed the wrong woman too far. The older officer raised his baton higher. Regina didn't flinch. She had stopped flinching years ago. "You think you're brave?" he sneered. "You think because you wear nice clothes and drive a nice car, you can talk to us anyhow?" Regina wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand. Her mind was racing, not with fear, with calculation. She was measuring distances, angles, escape routes, old habits she thought she had buried. The younger officer moved to her left, blocking her path to the driver's door. They had done this before, cornered people, made them desperate, made them pay, but they didn't know who they were cornering. "I asked you a question," the older officer said, stepping closer, close enough that she could count the sweat beads on his forehead, close enough to strike. "I heard you," Regina said quietly. "Then answer." She looked past him, at the checkpoint, at the other officers who were busy extorting other drivers. No one was paying attention to her. No one would help her. That's how it worked in Nigeria. Everyone minded their business. Survival meant staying silent. The older officer grabbed her arm. His fingers dug into her flesh. "You're coming with us to the station. We'll see how brave you are when you spend the night in a cell." Regina's jaw clenched. She thought about Zara, waiting at home, hungry, expecting her mother to walk through the door any minute. She thought about the text message. "Almost there, baby. 20 minutes. She had promised. "Let go of me," Regina said. The officer squeezed harder. Or what? That's when it happened. Regina's free hand shot up, fast, precise. Her palm struck the officer's throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to make him choke, to make him let go. He stumbled backward, gasping. His eyes went wide with shock. The baton fell from his hand and clattered on the asphalt. The younger officer lunged at her. Regina sidestepped. Her training kicked in, muscle memory from another life, a life she had tried to forget. She grabbed his wrist as he swung at her, twisted it, and used his momentum to send him crashing into the side of her car. He bounced off the door with a loud thud. The side mirror cracked. Everything stopped. The traffic noise faded into background static. The other officers at the checkpoint turned to look. The drivers who had been arguing fell silent. Regina stood between the two officers, breathing hard. Her heart hammered against her ribs. What had she done? What had she just done? The older officer recovered first. His face was purple with rage. He picked up his baton and charged at her, swinging wild. Regina ducked. The baton whistled over her head and smashed into her car window. Glass exploded. Pieces rained down on the road, catching the sunlight like diamonds. She didn't think. She just moved. Her foot came up and connected with his knee. He screamed and went down. The baton skittered away across the asphalt. The younger officer was back on his feet. Blood dripped from his nose where it had hit the car. He reached for his belt, for his gun. Regina's blood turned to ice. This was it. This was how it ended. Not at home with her daughter, not peacefully in her sleep years from now, but here, on this dusty roadside, shot by a corrupt police officer who would claim she attacked him first. Time slowed down. She saw his hand close around the grip of his pistol, saw him pull it from the holster, saw his finger move toward the trigger. She heard someone screaming, multiple voices. The other officers were running toward them now. The drivers were backing away. A woman covered her child's eyes. Regina raised her hands. "Don't!" But the young officer wasn't listening. His face was twisted with humiliation and rage. She had made him look weak. In front of everyone, he would make her pay. The gun came up. Regina's mind flashed to Zara, to her daughter's face, to the promise she had made. "Almost there, baby." Then a voice cut through the chaos. "Put the gun down!" Everyone froze. A man stepped out of a black SUV that had pulled up behind Regina's car. He was tall, well-dressed. His shirt was crisp white despite the heat. He wore sunglasses that reflected the scene back at them like a mirror. But it wasn't his appearance that made the young officer lower his gun. It was the way he carried himself, the authority in his voice, the confidence that said he was someone you didn't mess with. "Who are you?" the older officer demanded, still on the ground, clutching his knee. The man removed his sunglasses. His eyes were cold. "Someone you really don't want to shoot at." He pulled out his phone and held it up. He had been recording everything, the planted drugs, the slap, the attack, all of it. The older officer's face went pale. "Now," the man said calmly, "you have two choices. You can let this woman go, or I can send this video to every news station in Lagos. Your choice. You're loved. Like and subscribe. Also make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments." The checkpoint fell silent. The other officers had stopped moving. The drivers watched with held breath. Even the traffic seemed to pause. Regina stood perfectly still, hands still raised, her mind trying to process what was happening. Who was this man? Why was he helping her? The younger officer looked at his partner, then at the man with the phone, then at Regina. His gun was still in his hand, but it was pointing at the ground now. "She attacked us," he said weakly. "She's a criminal." The man smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "I have video of you planting evidence in her car. I have video of your partner assaulting her first. So tell me, officer, who's the criminal here?" The older officer struggled to his feet, wincing. His pride was wounded more than his knee. "This is police business. You can't interfere." "I'm not interfering. I'm witnessing. There's a difference." The man took a step closer. "And I'm a witness with connections. Connections to people you really don't want asking questions about this checkpoint, about how much money you collect every day, about where that money goes." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Regina slowly lowered her hands. Her legs felt weak. Adrenaline was still flooding her system. She wanted to run, to get in her car and drive away and never look back. But her car window was shattered. Glass covered the seats. And these officers weren't going to let her leave. Not without consequences. "Give her back her documents," the man said. It wasn't a request. The younger officer hesitated. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out Regina's license and vehicle papers. He threw them on the ground at her feet. Regina bent down to pick them up. Her hands were shaking now. The shock was setting in. "Get in your car," the man told her quietly. "Drive away. Don't stop until you get home." "But my window." "Drive anyway." Regina looked at him, really looked at him. There was something familiar about his face, about the way he spoke, but she couldn't place it. "Who are you?" she whispered. He put his sunglasses back on. "Someone who knows what it's like to be pushed too far." The older officer spat blood on the ground. "This isn't over." The man turned to face him. "Yes, it is, unless you want me to show this video to internal affairs, or better yet, to social media. You know how fast things go viral these days. I wonder how your superiors would feel about seeing two of their officers planting drugs and assaulting a woman." The officer said nothing, but his eyes promised violence, revenge, later. Regina brushed the glass off her driver's seat as best she could. Some pieces were too small. They would cut her later. But she didn't care. She just needed to leave. She started the engine. It roared to life, normal, reliable, like nothing had happened. But everything had happened. She put the car in gear. Her hands were still shaking on the wheel. She looked in the rearview mirror. The man was standing behind her car, blocking the officers, making sure they didn't follow. Who was he? She pressed the gas pedal and pulled back onto the road. Wind rushed through the broken window. Glass crunched under the tires. She merged into traffic, and the checkpoint disappeared behind her. But she knew the truth. This wasn't over. It was only beginning. Regina drove for 10 minutes before she realized she was crying. The tears came hot and fast, blurring the road ahead. She wiped them away with her palm, but they kept coming. Her chest heaved. Her breath came in short gasps. The adrenaline was leaving her body, and in its place came the shaking. The fear. The realization of what had almost happened. She had hit a police officer, 2 of them. She had fought back, and someone had recorded it. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. She glanced down. 3 missed calls from Zara, 2 text messages. "Mom, where are you?" "Mom?" Regina's throat tightened. She pulled over to the side of the road, hazard lights blinking. Cars zoomed past her, honking. Nobody stopped. Nobody cared. She picked up the phone with trembling fingers and called her daughter. Zara answered on the first ring. "Mom! Finally! I've been calling you forever! Where are you?" "I'm starving." The sound of her daughter's voice broke something inside Regina. She pressed her hand over her mouth to stop the sob from escaping. "Mom? Hello? Are you there?" Regina forced herself to breathe, to sound normal. "I'm here, baby. I'm almost home. Just a little traffic." "You sound weird. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'll be there soon. Maybe 15 minutes. "Okay. Can you bring chicken from that place near the house?" Regina smiled through her tears, always thinking about food. "Yes, baby. I'll bring chicken. Extra spicy." Extra spicy. She hung up and sat in the car, watching the traffic blur past. Her face throbbed where the officer had slapped her. Her lip was swollen. When she looked in the mirror, she could see the bruise already forming, dark purple against her brown skin. How would she explain this to Zara? She couldn't tell her the truth. Couldn't tell her that her mother had attacked 2 police officers on the side of the road. Couldn't tell her about the planted drugs or the man with the video or the gun pointed at her chest. No. She would say she had an accident, a minor fender bender, nothing serious. Regina put the car back in gear and merged into traffic. The wind through the broken window was loud. It whistled and roared. People stared as they passed. Some pointed. A taxi driver laughed. She ignored them all. The chicken shop was 5 minutes from her house. She pulled into the parking lot and checked her face in the mirror again. The bruise was worse. She pulled her scarf from the back seat and wrapped it carefully around her face, covering the lower half, like she was protecting herself from dust. Inside the shop, the smell of fried chicken and spices filled the air. Her stomach turned. She wasn't hungry. She might never be hungry again. 2 pieces, extra spicy, she told the girl behind the counter. The girl nodded and turned to pack the order. Regina stood by the window, watching the street, looking for police cars, looking for the black SUV, looking for danger. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it. Should she answer? What if it was the police? What if they had tracked her down? It buzzed again, insistent. She answered. "Hello?" "Ms. Cole." It was a man's voice, calm, familiar. Her blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "The man from the checkpoint. Don't hang up." Regina's hand tightened on the phone. "How did you get my number?" "I have connections. That's not important. What's important is that those officers know who you are now. They have your license, your address, they know where you live." Her stomach dropped. "What do you want?" "To help you, but we need to talk. In person." "I don't even know who you are." "My name is David Chen. I work for a private security firm. We handle situations like yours." "I don't have a situation." He laughed. It was a short, bitter sound. "Ms. Cole, you assaulted 2 police officers. That video I took, it might protect you for now, but they'll come for you anyway. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they'll come. And when they do, that video won't matter. They'll make something up, plant more evidence, make you disappear." Regina's hand shook. The girl behind the counter called her name. Her order was ready. "I have to go," Regina said. "Meet me tomorrow, noon. There's a cafe on Victoria Island, Java House. Do you know it?" "I'm not meeting you anywhere." "Then prepare for a visit from those officers, or worse. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to save you. Your choice, Ms. Cole." He hung up. Regina stood frozen, phone pressed to her ear, listening to the dead line. Her mind raced. Could she trust him? Who was he really? And how did he know her name? She grabbed the chicken and walked back to her car in a daze. The parking lot felt too open, too exposed, like she was being watched. She drove home on autopilot. Her neighborhood looked the same as always, small houses with metal gates, children playing football in the street, women selling vegetables from carts. Normal, safe, but it didn't feel safe anymore. She parked in front of her gate and honked. Her gateman, old Joseph, shuffled out and opened it. He smiled his toothless smile and waved as she drove through. "Madam, welcome. How was your day?" "Fine, Joseph. Thank you." She parked in the driveway and sat for a moment, gathering herself, checking her face again, adjusting the scarf. The front door burst open. Zara came running out, braids flying. "Finally, I'm dying of hunger." Regina stepped out of the car with the chicken bag. Zara's eyes went straight to the broken window. "Mom, what happened to your car?" "Small accident. Nothing serious." "Are you hurt?" Regina's chest tightened. Zara was looking at her with those big, concerned eyes, too smart for her own good, always noticing things. "I'm fine, baby, just tired." "Why are you wearing your scarf like that?" "Dust. The window's broken, remember?" Zara didn't look convinced, but the smell of chicken distracted her. She grabbed the bag and ran back inside. "I'm eating in front of the TV." "No TV until you finish your homework." "I already finished it." Regina locked the car and followed her daughter inside. The house was small but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living room that doubled as a dining room. It was all she could afford after the divorce, after everything that had happened. She locked the front door, then checked it twice, then checked all the windows. "Mom, you're acting weird," Zara called from the living room. "Just being careful." She went to her bedroom and closed the door, locked it, sat on the bed and finally let herself breathe. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again and again. She turned it off and threw it on the bed. Then she went to her closet and pushed aside the hanging clothes. In the back, behind a stack of old shoes, was a small metal box. She hadn't opened it in 5 years, had promised herself she never would again, but promises meant nothing when survival was on the line. She pulled out the box and opened it with a key she kept on a chain around her neck. Inside was her old life, her real life. A passport with a different name, American Sarah Mitchell, cash, American dollars, 10,000 worth, and a gun. Smith & Wesson M&P shield, small, light, deadly. She picked up the gun and checked the magazine. Still loaded. She had kept it maintained, just in case, always just in case. Sarah, sat on the bed with the gun in her lap and stared at the wall. She had run from this life, from the violence, from the training, from the agency that had made her into something she didn't want to be. She had come to Nigeria to disappear, to be normal, to be a mother, to forget. But the past never stayed buried. And now, those police officers had made a terrible mistake. They had pushed the wrong woman. They had awakened something she had tried to kill. Her phone lit up on the bed, even though it was off. No, it was on. She had turned it back on without realizing. A new message. From David Chen. "They're coming for you tonight. Be ready." Sarah stood up. She checked the gun again, chambered around. The mechanical click was familiar, comforting. She went to Zara's room. Her daughter was on the bed, eating chicken, watching cartoons on her tablet. Innocent, unaware. "Baby, listen to me carefully." Zara looked up, chicken grease on her fingers. "What's wrong?" "If anything happens tonight, if you hear anything strange, I want you to hide in the bathroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you, understand?" Zara's eyes went wide. "Mom, you're scaring me." Sarah knelt beside the bed and took her daughter's hand. "I'm not trying to scare you. I just need you to listen to me. Can you do that?" Zara nodded slowly. "Good girl." Sarah kissed her forehead. "Nothing's going to happen, but just in case, promise me you'll hide." "I promise." Sarah stood and went back to her room. She changed into dark clothes, jeans, black t-shirt, comfortable shoes she could run in. Then she sat in the chair by the window and watched the street, waiting. The sun set. The streetlights came on. Children went inside. The neighborhood grew quiet. At 11 o'clock, she saw them. 2 cars. Moving slowly down the street, no headlights. They parked 3 houses down. 4 men got out. She recognized 2 of them, the officers from the checkpoint. They had brought friends. Sarah checked her gun one more time. Then she turned off all the lights in the house and waited in the darkness. They were coming, and she was ready. The men moved like shadows along the street. No uniforms this time, just dark clothes and bad intentions. Sarah watched them from behind the curtain, her breathing slow and controlled. The gun felt heavy in her hand. Familiar. She counted 4 of them, the 2 officers from the checkpoint and 2 others. Bigger men. The kind you hired when you wanted to send a message, when you wanted someone to disappear. They stopped at Joseph's gatepost. She saw one of them grab the old man. Saw Joseph's mouth open in protest, then saw him crumple to the ground. Sarah's jaw tightened. Joseph was harmless, an old man who swept the compound and told stories about his village. They didn't need to hurt him. But that's what they did. They hurt people. Because they could. Because no one stopped them. Until now. She moved away from the window and went to Zara's room. Her daughter was asleep, tablet still glowing on the bed beside her. Sarah gently took it away and covered her with a blanket. "Baby," she whispered, "wake up." Zara's eyes fluttered open. "Mom? Remember what I told you about hiding?" The sleep left Zara's face. She sat up quickly. "They're here?" "Yes, bathroom. Now, don't make a sound." Zara scrambled out of bed and ran to the bathroom. Sarah heard the lock click. Good girl, smart girl. She went back to the living room and turned off her phone. No distractions, no notifications, just her training and her instincts. The compound gate creaked. They were coming through. Joseph must have been forced to unlock it, or they had keys. Didn't matter. Sarah moved to the side of the front door. She could hear their footsteps now, boots on concrete, getting closer, a voice outside, low, commanding. Check the windows, make sure she's inside. That was the older officer, the one whose knee she had kicked. He would want revenge, personal revenge. Footsteps moved around the house, shadows passed by the windows. They were surrounding it, professional, organized. This wasn't their first time. Sarah's mind calculated options. 4 men, 1 exit, 1 gun with 15 rounds. She had fought worse odds before, but that was years ago. And she had been alone then. No daughter sleeping 20 feet away. No innocent life to protect. The front door handle rattled. Testing. Then came the knock. Hard, aggressive. "Mrs. Cole, open up, police!" Sarah said nothing. She pressed herself against the wall and waited. "We know you're in there. Open this door or we break it down." Silence. "Last warning." Sarah heard them step back, heard the shuffle of feet. They were going to ram it. She moved quickly, grabbed the heavy wooden dining chair and wedged it under the door handle. It wouldn't hold long, but it would buy her seconds. The door exploded inward with a crash that shook the house. The chair splintered. Wood flew. The door hung crooked on broken hinges. The first man through was one of the hired muscle, big, bald. He had a machete in his hand. Sarah shot him in the leg. The sound was deafening in the small space. The man screamed and went down, clutching his thigh. Blood spread across the floor. The others froze in the doorway. "Next one comes through. I aim higher," Sarah said calmly. The older officer stepped into view. He had a gun now, too, pointed at her. "You're making this worse for yourself." "You attacked me. You planted drugs in my car. You came to my home. Who's making it worse?" He smiled, the same cruel smile from the checkpoint. "Put the gun down. Come quietly. Maybe we'll go easy on your daughter." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "You leave her out of this. She's already in it. The moment you decided to fight back, you put her in it." "I was defending myself." "That's not what our report will say. Our report will say you were trafficking drugs, that you attacked officers, that you resisted arrest." He took a step inside. "Your daughter will go to social services. Maybe we'll lose the paperwork. Maybe she'll end up somewhere. Unfortunate." Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. One shot. She could end him right now, but there were 3 others, and gunfire would wake the whole neighborhood, and Zara would hear it, would hear her mother kill a man. "What do you want?" Sarah asked. "Justice." Try again. The younger officer pushed past his partner. His nose was bandaged from where it had hit the car. His eyes were wild with anger. We want you to suffer, like you made us suffer, like you embarrassed us. Your pride isn't worth dying for. Neither is yours. He raised his gun. Sarah saw his finger start to squeeze, saw the moment before the bullet, saw death coming. Then the window behind her shattered. Glass exploded inward. Something hit the floor between them, small, round, metallic. Everyone froze. The canister hissed. White smoke poured out, thick, choking. Sarah's eyes burned. She couldn't see, couldn't breathe. She heard shouting, confusion, more gunshots, but not from inside. From outside. Someone was shooting at the house. Sarah dropped to the floor, covering her nose with her shirt. The smoke was everywhere. Tear gas, military grade. She crawled toward Zara's room, eyes streaming, lungs burning. Bodies moved in the smoke. She saw the shape of the older officer stumbling toward the door, saw another figure tackle him from behind, heard fists hitting flesh. She reached Zara's door and pounded on the bathroom. "Zara, stay inside, don't come out." "Mom!" Her daughter's voice was terrified, muffled through the door. "Stay there!" The smoke was clearing, being pulled out by the wind through the broken windows and door. Sarah's vision slowly returned. Shapes became people, chaos became clear. David Chen stood in her living room. He had the older officer on the ground, knee on his back, zip-tying his hands. 2 other men were with him, security contractors, black tactical gear, professional. The younger officer was unconscious by the door. The man with the machete wound was crying, trying to crawl away. The 4th man was face down, not moving. David looked at Sarah. "You okay?" She coughed, eyes still burning. "What are you doing here? Told you they were coming. You should have met me at the cafe." "You were watching my house?" "Protecting it. There's a difference." He hauled the older officer to his feet. The man's face was bloody. His eyes were full of hate. "This one has quite the record. Extortion, assault, 3 complaints of rape that mysteriously disappeared. He's been operating that checkpoint for 5 years. Sarah stood slowly. Her legs were shaky. "Who are you really?" "I told you, private security." "Nobody runs private security like this in Nigeria." David smiled. It was tired, worn. "You'd be surprised what exists when you know where to look." He nodded at one of his men. They started dragging the officers outside. "We're taking them. They'll be delivered to Internal Affairs, along with evidence, videos, bank records, everything. They'll be back on the street in a week." "Not these ones. I have friends in high places, friends who are tired of corruption, friends who want change." He looked around the destroyed living room. "You need to leave this house, tonight. Take your daughter somewhere safe. This is my home." "Not anymore. This one had friends too. They'll come looking for him. And next time, I might not be here." Sarah's mind raced. He was right. She knew he was right. But where could she go? She had built a life here, a quiet life, away from violence and agencies and people like David Chen. "I can help you," David said quietly. "New identity, new location, protection until this blows over." "What's the price?" "No price. Call it professional courtesy." "There's always a price." David studied her face, really looked at her, and something changed in his expression. Recognition, understanding. "You're not Regina Cole, are you? That's not your real name." Sarah said nothing. "You're trained, the way you moved at the checkpoint. The way you shot that man in the leg instead of the chest. Center mass would have been the kill shot, but you aimed low, controlled, precise." He tilted his head. "Who did you work for?" "Nobody." "CIA, MI6, Mossad?" Sarah raised her gun slightly, not pointing at him, just reminding him it was there. "I don't know what you're talking about." David held up his hands. "I'm not your enemy. Whatever you were, whoever you worked for, I don't care. But those officers, they're not your biggest problem anymore." "What do you mean?" He pulled out his phone and showed her a video. It was shaky, low quality, recorded from across the street, but clear enough. It showed Sarah shooting the man in her living room. "This went live 10 minutes ago," David said. "Thousands of views already. By morning, it'll be everywhere. News stations, social media, police headquarters." He put the phone away. "Regina Cole, the woman who shoots home invaders, they'll make you a hero or a villain, depending on who's telling the story." Sarah's stomach dropped. Delete it. I can't. It's not my video. It's your neighbor's. He posted it on Facebook. Then we find him. Make him delete it. It's already been shared 200 times. Screenshots, downloads, it's out there. Forever. Sarah looked at the broken door, at the blood on her floor, at the smoke still hanging in the air. Her quiet life was over. Everything she had built, everything she had sacrificed, gone in one night. Mom? She turned. Zara stood in the hallway, staring at the destruction, at the strangers in tactical gear, at the gun in her mother's hand. Mom, what's happening? Sarah's heart broke. She lowered the gun, crossed the room and pulled her daughter into her arms. It's okay, baby. Everything's going to be okay. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Nothing was okay, and it was about to get much, much worse. 3 hours later, Sarah sat in the back of David's SUV, watching her neighborhood disappear in the rearview mirror. Zara was asleep against her shoulder, exhausted from crying. The girl hadn't asked questions after the first few. She had just held on to her mother and trembled. Smart girl. She knew when words didn't matter anymore. David drove in silence. His 2 men followed in a second vehicle behind them. The streets were empty. Lagos at 3 a.m. belonged to night guards and people running from something. Sarah was both. Her phone buzzed. She had turned it back on to call her sister, to explain, to apologize. But her sister hadn't answered. 6 missed calls, 4 messages, all ignored. She checked the news apps instead. The video was everywhere now, just like David had said. Woman defends home against police invasion. Corrupt officers exposed in viral shooting. Regina Cole. Hero or vigilante? They had used her fake name, her fake life. But the face in the video was clear enough. Someone would recognize her eventually. Someone from her past. Someone who knew Sarah Mitchell had disappeared 5 years ago after a mission went wrong in Syria. Someone who would want answers. Where are we going? Sarah asked quietly. David glanced at her in the mirror. Safe house. Lekki, gated community, security. We'll stay there until I can arrange transport. Transport where? Out of Nigeria. You can't stay here. Not after tonight. Sarah looked down at Zara's sleeping face. Peaceful. Innocent. She didn't know her mother had killed men before. Didn't know about the training, the missions, the bodies left behind in cities whose names Sarah couldn't pronounce. She didn't know her mother was a weapon that had been pointed at enemies of the state for 10 years before Sarah finally broke. She needs school, friends, stability, Sarah said. She needs a living mother more. The words hit hard because they were true. Sarah had survived tonight, barely. But the video meant she was exposed now, vulnerable. Every enemy she had ever made could find her. Every handler she had ever worked for could track her down, and they would, because people like Sarah didn't get to retire peacefully. They either died in service or died running. She had chosen running. But running only worked when no one was looking. Who are you really? Sarah asked again. Don't give me the private security story. Nobody moves like you do. Nobody has access to resources like you do. Not in Nigeria. David was quiet for a long moment. The streetlights flickered past, painting his face in alternating light and shadow. I was MI6, he finally said. Extraction specialist. Got burned on an operation in Yemen. The agency disavowed me. Left me to die. He glanced at her in the mirror again. But I didn't die. I got out. Started my own firm. Now I help people like us. People who got chewed up and spit out by governments that promised to protect them. Why help me? Because I recognized you at that checkpoint. Not your face, your movement, the way you assessed threats, the way you stayed calm. He smiled slightly. Takes one to know one. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. Relief. Understanding. For 5 years she had pretended to be normal, had forced herself to walk differently, talk differently, think differently. But it had never felt right, never felt real. Because she wasn't normal. She was trained to survive, to fight, to win. And tonight, she had remembered who she really was. The officers we took, Sarah said. What happens to them? Internal Affairs has them now, along with evidence of everything they have done. Bank accounts showing bribes, videos of extortion, testimonies from victims. David turned onto a quieter street. They'll go to prison, real prison, not the comfortable cells they usually buy their way into. And the man I shot, he'll live. Femoral artery missed by an inch. You knew what you were doing. Sarah had known, even in the chaos, even with Zara in the next room. Her training had taken over, muscle memory that couldn't be erased no matter how hard she tried. The safe house was in a compound with high walls and armed guards. David showed his credentials and they were waved through. The house itself was modest, 3 bedrooms, basic furniture, everything designed to be temporary. Sarah carried Zara to one of the bedrooms and laid her on the bed. Her daughter stirred but didn't wake. Sarah pulled a blanket over her and stood watching her breathe. How long until Zara asked the real questions? How long until she wanted to know why her mother could shoot a man without hesitation? Why strangers came to rescue them? Why their whole life was a lie? Coffee? David stood in the doorway, holding 2 mugs. Sarah followed him to the living room. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, drinking in silence. The coffee was strong, bitter, perfect. What did you do? David asked. Before Nigeria. Sarah considered lying, but lies were exhausting, and David already knew enough to destroy her if he wanted to. Covert operations, mostly Middle East and North Africa, extraction, elimination, whatever the mission required. She took another sip. I was good at it, too good. What happened? Syria, 2020. I was supposed to extract an asset, simple operation, in and out. Sarah's hands tightened around the mug. But the intelligence was wrong. It wasn't an asset. It was a family, women, children. They thought we were there to save them. David said nothing, just listened. My handler told me to eliminate them anyway. Witnesses, loose ends. That's what he called them. Sarah's voice was flat now, empty. I refused, helped them escape instead, got 3 of my team killed in the process. And the family? Safe, last I heard, living somewhere in Europe under new names. Sarah looked at him. The agency wanted me dead after that, traitor, liability. I ran, changed my name, came to Nigeria, thought I could disappear. But you can't disappear. Not really. Not people like us. I know that now. David set down his mug. The video changes everything. By tomorrow, facial recognition software will match you to Sarah Mitchell. Old operations will resurface. Questions will be asked. How long do I have? Days, maybe a week if we're lucky. Sarah closed her eyes. She had given Zara 5 good years, 5 years of normalcy, of school and friends and birthday parties. 5 years of being a mother instead of a soldier. Was that enough? Could it ever be enough? I can get you to Ghana, David said. I have contacts there, new documents, new identities, for both of you. And then what? Run again? Change names again? Wait for the next video, the next checkpoint? Sarah shook her head. I'm tired of running. Then what do you want to do? Sarah opened her eyes and looked at him, really looked at him. He was offering her an escape, a second chance, maybe a third chance. But escape meant always looking over her shoulder, always waiting for the knock on the door. I want to fix this, she said quietly. I want to make sure those officers never hurt anyone again. I want the system that protected them to change. David laughed. It was a sad sound. You can't change the system, not in Nigeria, not anywhere. It's too big, too corrupt. Maybe, but I can make noise. I can tell my story, the real story, about what happened at that checkpoint, about corruption, about people who fight back. She sat forward. The video made me visible. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. That's dangerous. Everything's dangerous, but at least this way, I'm choosing the danger. I'm not waiting for it to find me. David studied her face, then he nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you want. I know some journalists, good ones, people who can't be bought. They'll tell your story the right way. And my daughter? She stays safe. That's non-negotiable. I'll move her to Ghana. My people will watch her. When things settle down, you can join her. Sarah felt tears burn her eyes. She blinked them away. She'll hate me for sending her away. She'll understand, eventually, when she's older, when she knows the whole truth. David stood. Get some sleep. We have a lot of work to do tomorrow. He left the room. Sarah sat alone in the darkness, listening to the city outside. Lagos never truly slept, always moving, always changing, always surviving, like her. She went to check on Zara one more time. Her daughter was still sleeping, peaceful, safe, for now. Sarah knelt beside the bed and whispered, "I'm sorry, baby, for all of this, for the life I gave you, for the life I'm about to take away." She kissed her daughter's forehead. "But I promise you this, I will make it mean something. What happened tonight, what happens next, it will mean something." Zara stirred. Her eyes opened slightly. "Mom, I'm here. Are we going to be okay?" Sarah smiled. It was genuine this time, not forced, not fake, because for the first time in 5 years she knew the answer. "Yes, baby, we're going to be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually, we're going to be okay." Zara closed her eyes again. "I love you, Mom. I love you too." Sarah stood and walked to the window. Dawn was breaking over Lagos. The sky was turning from black to gray to orange. A new day, a new beginning. She had spent 5 years trying to be someone she wasn't, trying to hide, trying to forget. But Regina Cole was a lie, a comfortable lie, a safe lie. Sarah Mitchell was the truth, complicated, dangerous, broken, but real. And maybe that was enough. Maybe being real, being honest about who she was and what she had done, was better than hiding behind fake names and quiet lives. The video was out there now. Her face. Her story. Her truth. Let them come. Let the agency come. Let the corrupt officers and their friends come. Let everyone who had ever wronged her or hunted her or tried to bury her come. She wasn't running anymore. She was done hiding. And when they arrived, they would discover what those police officers had learned at that checkpoint on the Lagos-Abadan Expressway. Some women, when pushed too far, don't break. They fight back. And sometimes, just sometimes, they win. The end. What does fighting back mean to you? When is the moment you stop running and start standing your ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.